everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. Sorry, it's been a hot minute again since I last filmed. I just can't seem to find the time for it as much as I thought I would. Hopefully I will have some more regular content coming up for you, especially as spooky season is upon us. I have some really cool stuff planned for September and October. But it's literally boiling hot outside. As soon as I've finished up with filming, I'm heading to the beach, so it doesn't quite feel right to do that yet. But I have definitely got some ideas for you. Today I'm going to tell you all the first time watch movies that I checked out in August. One thing I will say is that I did watch the majority of the Saw franchise in August, but I will not be talking about those today as I have a ranking planned for when the new one drops, so I'll save all my thoughts and feelings etc. on Saw for that video. But I'll tell you everything else I watched. I won't go into rewatches today. In these videos I tend to just tell you like first time watches. I'm also going to do it a little bit more quick fire than last time, just because A, I have plans, and B, I watch a lot of films and my last video was super long. So I'll try and keep the length down a little bit for you guys. If you want to get involved, please do. I've always got my links down below, so if you want to see what I'm watching in real time, my Letterboxd is where I log everything. I've got it open on my screen to tell you what I've watched. Definitely give me a follow over there, and also comment down below the favourite film that you watched in August. Let's crack on. The first film to talk about today is Tom Cruise's Vanilla Sky, and I thought this was a mixed bag. I went into this completely blind, so I just thought it was a romance. I didn't realise there'd be like a sci-fi element involved, and maybe I should have been a little bit more prepared because I was slightly disappointed just because it wasn't what I was expecting. I think it quite cleverly blends together the sci-fi and the romance elements, and Tom Cruise is as brilliant as ever, and I really enjoyed Penelope Cruz in her role as well. But yeah, it was a little bit all over the place. I didn't fully gel with the sci-fi twist, so overall, yeah, it was a mixed bag, but I would definitely recommend it for those that like that sort of thing, and I'm hoping if I check it out again when I know a little bit more about what to expect, I might enjoy it more. Next is a new release which is called You Hurt My Feelings. I was granted a screener for this and I didn't really know anything about it until I got that, so that's why I love getting screeners sometimes, because I tend to check out a lot of films that I wouldn't usually check out, and I really enjoyed You Hurt My Feelings. I thought it was more of a comedy, but it's kind of a little bit more nuanced than that, but once the film kind of progressed I found I didn't mind. It's this story basically about a husband and wife, and the wife finds out, despite him telling her that she did, that her husband did not like her new book that she wrote. So it kind of deals with all like the trials and tribulations of relationships, what we tell ourselves, what we tell each other, and there's some really interesting discourse in there. The humour is light, but it is in there and it feels really realistic and raw, so I've really enjoyed the humour it did have to offer, and I found a lot of it relatable as well. Great performances, kind of more nuanced side of comedy, and just a fun time really. I definitely recommend checking this one out. It is on Amazon Prime. Next, I watched a fully fledged, no doubt about it, comedy. It is also a new release, and that was Joyride. I had such a freaking blast with Joyride. I thought it was absolutely hilarious from start to finish. I didn't find it perfect, and I think sometimes the humour went a little bit too far and it was mainly aiming for shock factor rather than anything else, but I was also pleasantly surprised to find it had a lot of heart as well. Our cast are absolutely fantastic. I was really gassed to see Stephanie Shu again after I loved her so much in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Ashley Park was in here too and she was amazing, and the whole cast came together with amazing chemistry, delivering some absolutely hilarious, raunchy, risky comedy. Yeah, with a little bit of heart in there too. There's a really nice story about kind of finding yourself and where you come from and stuff like that. Definitely check out Joyride. It's one of the most, definitely the funniest of the year, I think. There might be a couple of others on my list that I do think were as funny. But yeah, I think if you ask my partner, he'd definitely say Joyride is the funniest of the year so far. Full of vibrancy, colour, culture, I highly recommend. The next film I watched was Black Hawk Down, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I struggle a little bit with war films. They're not always my favourite. I find them kind of repetitive and a bit mundane. This one, however, I'm really pleased to report that I really enjoyed. It has an absolutely stacked cast and I loved all the performances involved. The runtime moves at a really brisk pace and there's a lot of action in there too. I thoroughly enjoyed my time watching Black Hawk Down. I think the fact it's directed by Ridley Scott definitely helps. Obviously he's a fantastic filmmaker, so I'm definitely glad that it was him handling the material. And it also did a lot of showing rather than telling, which I always enjoy from my films, especially action-packed war films. I would definitely recommend this one. It might not be my favourite war film of all time, but it's definitely one of the better ones I've seen in recent years. Next, I checked out an absolute classic. I'm a little bit embarrassed that I hadn't seen this one before, but you know, there's a first time for everything. I am talking about Dawn of the Dead. I know, it is what it is. I'm really sorry. I know it's a classic. I was going to wait until October for this one, but I just couldn't wait. I found it on Amazon Prime. I had to check it out and I'm happy to report that I freaking loved it. I wasn't expecting anything less, but you know when there's so much hype around a film, and zombie films don't tend to be my favourites either. So I was a little bit nervous about this one, but oh my gosh, I loved it. My partner loved it as well. Love the supermarket or shopping mall, whatever you call it, setting. The claustrophobia works really well and it's just quite unique to have a horror film set in that location. The main thing I love about older horror flicks is obviously the practical effects. They were in full swing here and they looked really good. All the performances were incredible. The main cast and the guys playing the zombies as well, I thought that was brilliant. It was really inspired. And I really rooted for the characters. I found them really enjoyable to watch, enjoyable to follow, and I was really rooting for our leads. I enjoyed them. Next, I watched Law Abiding Citizen, which I thought I would like more than I did. I still gave it 3 stars out of 5, so still a fairly positive review. And the reason I loved it was also the reason I didn't. The first kind of act or two I really enjoyed. It's got like a deep thriller kind of setting. I loved like working out the mystery. Gerard Butler gives a really good performance, as does Jamie Foxx. And then things kind of just go batshit and it goes a bit like weird, and some elements of that I liked, some I didn't. It kind of felt like there was a big tonal shift in there, which was a little bit jarring, and it got really silly. I think if I was to watch it again, I'd kind of appreciate it more just because I'm knowing what I'm getting into. But going from like a dark, really interesting thriller to just going crazy and silly, I didn't really appreciate. I think it kind of lost its way and it was just a bit of a tonal imbalance really. But you know, it's a popcorn movie, it's got Gerard Butler in it. Maybe I expected a little bit too much. I had fun and that's all that really matters. I was lucky enough to be granted a screener for Bad Things from Shudder, so thank you Shudder for that. Unfortunately, I was a little bit underwhelmed with Bad Things. I did give this a full review over at Film Focus Online, and the link is down below for that as well if you want to check out any of my full-length professional reviews. But what I will summarise for you today is just that everyone online was saying it was like a version of a modern version of The Shining for the gays, which, you know, I kind of agree with. But it kind of felt like a copy of The Shining, but just not as good. I loved the claustrophobic, cold, dingy hotel setting. I think that worked really well. There was also some fun horror imagery in there, and the performances from all involved are really good, especially our lead, Gail Rankin, and Harry Neff, who I always enjoy. It was just really kind of lackluster. There's a lot of ambiguity and you don't really get the answers you're hoping for towards the end. There's a lot of the portions of the movie where not a great deal is happening and it just didn't really do much for me. I was kind of expecting more. I knew Molly Ringwald was in it and she wasn't in it enough as I was hoping, and yeah, it just kind of let me down. A lot of it was basically a copy of The Shining but just not as good, so I couldn't really give it too much of a positive score, unfortunately, though I do, of course, appreciate the performances and the setting. I gave it 2.5 out of 5, so I'm smack bang in the middle there. If you like that sort of thing, I would definitely recommend it. It's more of like a slower horror, playing with your mind, that sort of thing, more than fully fledged horror. Staying on the horror bandwagon, the next one I watched purely just because I knew Kyle Gallner was in it, and that is Mother May I. This is another horror film that doesn't have too much in the way of traditional horror, but I really enjoyed this one. So it follows a young couple who go to, I believe Kyle Gallner's mother has just passed away, So they're going to her house to kind of like clean things out and stuff like that. And after playing a weird kind of therapy session kind of game, it appears that the mother's spirit takes over the girlfriend, and you're kind of working out whether that's actually true or if the girlfriend's just being mean and playing tricks on him. It's 100% dialogue driven. There's not really much in the way of action or horror, but the conversations being had between the two characters are fairly interesting, so I enjoyed it for that. There were times it meandered a little bit, sometimes it felt like a touch of a slog, but I mostly enjoyed it rather than not enjoying it, if that makes sense. Like, most of the conversations kept me on my toes and I was quite intrigued by the mystery. And if you're a fan of Kyle Gallner, his performance is exceptional, as is Holland Roden's. They both lead the film really well. So I would say it is worth watching for the performances and the dialogue. The next film on my list that I watched in August is the reason I was a bit reluctant to call Joyride the funniest movie of the year. I, of course, am talking about No Hard Feelings. Despite the premise being fairly icky, and it played out less icky than I thought it would in the film, and I really liked it, but yeah, I don't know. Despite the premise being a little icky, I really enjoyed the performances here. The two leads are incredible. I loved Jennifer Lawrence playing this comedy role. She delivered it so well, and I wouldn't say that I wasn't expecting her to, but she definitely impressed me a lot more than I was expecting. I really loved her in this role. I was expecting comedy. We definitely got that. It's absolutely hilarious. I think there's some comedy in there for everyone. And again, like Joyride, it's quite risky, quite raunchy. I really enjoyed it for that. But there's also so much heart in here, and it's a tale about friendship, and I wasn't quite expecting that. I don't know, I didn't really watch many of the trailers, so I don't know if that was given away. But it has this like cozy small town feel that a lot of people find really relatable, and yeah, there's a lot of heart in there, and it's fun to watch the two leads form their friendship, and there's a lot of discourse in there about friendship. So I definitely recommend it for that. Without getting too sappy, it is absolutely hilarious. The trailers are exactly what you should expect. It is batshit crazy. It is hilarious. And Jennifer Lawrence is really good at delivering comedy, so I'd love to see her do that again. But yeah, No Hard Feelings is a really, really good one for this year. I'd definitely keep it on your radar if you haven't seen it already. Speaking of keeping on your radar, if you haven't already, you need to check out the next film I watched, which is Cobweb. If it wasn't for Evil Dead, this would probably be my favourite horror of the year. Oh, Scream 6 as well. Oh, Scream 6 is so forgettable, you know. I might need to push that down my list a little bit. But anyway, Cobweb is the scariest film of the year by far. I know that horror is subjective, so don't watch it and not get scared and then moan at me for it. None of my business. I found it scary and my partner found it scary, and that is mainly due to the incredible performances from Lizzie Kaplan and Anthony Starr. And we've also got Woody Norman in here, who was in Come On, Come On with Joaquin Phoenix a year or two ago. Really talented little guy. He carried the weight of this really, really well. It's a heavy, dark movie. The horror works well, the performances are exceptional, and I also really enjoyed the cinematography. It uses like shadows and silhouettes and stuff really cleverly to amp up that horror. Definitely feels drab, gritty and claustrophobic as well, which is one of my favourite types of horror. I will say the ending, like the whole third act really, is a little bit of a letdown, but it didn't hinder my enjoyment too much. I really, really enjoyed Cobweb. I think it's a really competent horror. It uses a lot of really clever tricks rather than just jump scares, and if you love horror like me, you have to prioritise Cobweb. I think a lot of people will love this one and will definitely find it the best horror of the year so far. Next, I checked out Red, White and Royal Blue, which is a adaptation from a YA novel that I haven't read. It's on my TBR, it has been for years. I really want to read it, but you know, the movie came onto Prime, so I thought, screw it, I've got to give it a watch. And I found it a mixed bag. I mostly enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars out of 5, which is, you know, more positive than negative. I thought the romance was really cutesy. I believed the chemistry, and there's a bit of humour in there that I really liked as well. My main issue is that the two leads' performances were a little bit mismatched. Like, one was like acting really like deep, like he was in some like indie drama, and the other one was being like really frivolous and like fun and not that deep, and it kind of meant that the chemistry was altered a little bit at times, and sometimes it did feel like they were both acting in different movies. Both great performances, just maybe not as matched as they should be. But despite that, I had a really fun time. I loved all the representation in there. As a bisexual, I love seeing lots of bisexual representation. We love to see it. and it was just really uplifting, sweet, you know, kind of one of those that you can just throw on and have a good time with. Really uplifting, fun, cute. Definitely recommend it if you're a fan of that sort of thing. Changing the tone entirely, I finally decided to check out Enemy from Denis Villeneuve, which has been on my watch list for, I dread to even think how long, probably like 10 years, maybe a little bit less. I gave it 4 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed it, but I think it's one of those that you kind of have to watch more than once to get everything from it. I loved the mystery. I kind of worked some bits out, and then I had to Google some bits afterwards as well. But I really enjoy doing that. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like coming away from a movie and having questions and Googling and piecing things together. Definitely need to watch it again, but what I can say now is that, like I said, I love the mystery. Jake Gyllenhaal gave an absolutely incredible performance. I really, really enjoyed him. Technically giving 2 performances, so I loved how both of the characters had kind of different personalities, and that you were trying to work out like who was who. I loved all that. And obviously Denis is an incredible filmmaker, so I loved like all the direction, the cinematography, and it had like really nice colour grading as well. I really appreciated that. The docking of a star isn't for anything the movie did wrong. I just it wasn't, you know, that easily digestible, and I definitely need to give it another watch. But what I can safely say is that I think this will go up upon rewatch, so I'm really excited to check it out again. The next film, oh my goodness, it's my favourite film I watched all month. I was talking about zombie films earlier, I watched another incredible zombie film this month. Upon just one watch, it has become my favourite zombie flick of all time. I am talking about Train to Busan. I can't freaking believe that I haven't seen this film yet. I have seriously missed out on yearly rewatches. I know I'm going to be rewatching this every single year. It is absolutely flawless, and I am freaking obsessed with it. It is kind of your run-of-the-mill zombie film. It's all kind of set on a train, so it has the claustrophobia and stuff that I said I liked earlier. There is so much action in here. The characters are amazing, and there's some like really distinct personalities, and some you don't like, some you do like, and then your kind of judgment of them changes. I love when a movie does that. I loved our lead. The performances behind him and all of the characters was just insane. And these zombies were freaking terrifying. Like, they could run, they were bloodthirsty. As soon as they saw you, they were like, right, oh my god. Really scary, really tense, and really emotional as well. I nearly cried at the end. I know a lot of people who've watched this have also cried, so, you know, it's not just me. It's tense, it's terrifying, it's claustrophobic, it's fun. There's a lot of like, not like laugh out loud humour in there, but there's some light-hearted moments in there that I really enjoyed, and so much heart and love as well. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Please check out Train to Busan if you haven't already. If you watch any of the films on this list that I'm talking about today, based on my recommendation, make sure it's Train to Busan. It's incredible. Next is one I didn't enjoy as much. I watched Stepford Wives. I watched the remake. What year did it come out? 2004, the one with Nicole Kidman in it. I really wanted to watch the original first, but I couldn't find it anywhere, and I know people were drawing a lot of comparisons between this and Don't Worry Darling, which I also rewatched recently, so I kind of wanted to see where that came from. So I watched the remake with Nicole Kidman, and it was a mixed bag. A lot of the ideas I really, really enjoyed, but I think the execution was a bit poor. The set design was incredible. I love like the pastel-y kind of colours and the immersiveness of it. Really enjoyed the performances as well. Glenn Close is absolutely amazing. Nicole Kidman, obviously, her performance was insane. But a real scene stealer for me was Bette Midler. I loved her character in this. I liked it to a certain extent. It became a bit repetitive at times, and I don't quite like the message that it left us with overall. But yeah, I could definitely see the comparisons for Don't Worry Darling. I think it based a lot of its ideas actually on the Stepford Wives. I'll let you know what I think about the original. I'll definitely check that out soon. But yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend Stepford Wives or not. I'll check out the original and probably recommend that one over this. Next, I watched Free Fire. I really enjoy Ben Wheatley, mostly, we'll get there. I really enjoy Ben Wheatley as a director, so I thought I'd check out one of his, I think, less viewed ones. I really wanted to watch this for Cillian Murphy because I loved him so much in Oppenheimer. I wanted to watch him again. Absolutely loved his performance here, and this cast was stacked. We've got like Brie Larson in here, Sharlto Copley, so many, I can't even think right now, but I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a single location thriller. What I wasn't expecting was it to be so goddamn funny. The humour was delivered perfectly, especially by Sharlto Copley. I thought he was freaking hilarious, and he gave probably the best performance of his career that I've seen in this film. It's 90 minutes, it goes super quick, single location, gun shootout, people fucking firing all over the place, loads of comedy, amazing performances, and it's set in the 70s, so it's got that sort of aesthetic as well. Definitely recommend it. I absolutely loved it. Another new release I checked out this month was You Are So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, which is the newest, is it Happy Madison? The Adam Sandler Happy Madison, I think it's called that. It's the newest Adam Sandler flick along with Netflix, and I am happy to say I really enjoyed this one. His comedies aren't always for me. I find them a bit annoying. I sometimes find him a little bit annoying, don't tell anyone. But he kind of takes the back seat here and lets his family kind of do most of the acting. The lead character is played by his daughter, and she was really good. I really liked her. So I would say this is more of like a YA kind of film, kind of along the lines of Red, White and Royal Blue. If you've watched that, it's kind of for the same age range. But you know, I'm 24, my 30-year-old partner watched it with me and really enjoyed it as well. It's kind of just the usual kind of YA shit, like a young girl at school kind of dealing with puberty, getting her period, boyfriends, growing up, friendships, that sort of thing. And there's a lot of obviously Jewish representation in there. It's about bar mitzvahs and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed seeing that side of Adam Sandler, and focusing the comedy on that I think was a really nice idea. A lot of like heartfelt moments in there, a lot of comedy, definitely more suited to a younger audience. I would have preferred it when I was probably 15, but yeah, for a 24-year-old I got out of it what I could. There's some strong messaging in there and some comedy that works really well as well. It's one of his least annoying films and I really enjoyed the performances. Really good one, highly recommend. As I was saying about Ben Wheatley, I did finally get around to watching Meg 2. Can I just say, why the fuck isn't it called The Meg 2? Like, the first one's called The Meg, the second one's called Meg 2. Like, can we just like take a sec for that? But yeah, I think that kind of sets up what I thought of the film. I really didn't like it. I was so hopeful because the trailers looked so good. Like, it looked like they weren't going to take themselves too seriously. They were going to show some dinosaurs in there. They were just going to have an amazing time. They do that in this film, but in the last 10-15 minutes. Like, the first, how long is this film? Probably 90 minutes. The first freaking 60 minutes is boring. It's nothing. It's dialogue. It's just Jason Statham bowling around and looking miserable. And then the last 50 minutes is genuinely great. Like, there's some cool shark action in there. There's like humour, there's action. It's all going off, and it's like Piranha basically, but with a shark. Loved that. Didn't love the first hour. I actually gave this a lower rating than I gave the first movie. I just gave this 2 stars out of 5. So disappointed. This is the same thing with 65 a few months ago with Adam Driver. The trailer looked so good and it just didn't deliver that. I need a good creature feature action film and I need it now. Just a few more movies left on my list to talk about. The next one I will discuss with you guys is Miss Sloane, which is not the same as Molly's Game. I thought it was the same. I thought I'd seen it, but I hadn't. I'd seen Molly's Game. Miss Sloane, I think I actually might have preferred a little bit. So it's Jessica Chastain again, being Jessica Chastain. Love her, amazing performance. This is her film entirely. And she's playing a gun lobbyist in this film, which allows for some really, really interesting discourse about gun crime, whether we should allow people to have guns, that sort of thing. Really enjoyed this one, really interesting discourse. Obviously it is all dialogue driven, but the dialogue is really interesting, the discourse is really interesting. All the performances are fantastic. I won't say too much because it will kind of spoil, but you could kind of get like the main gist of it. It's got a lot of like court drama kind of stuff in there as well, which I absolutely love. So if you like court drama, interesting discourse, definitely check out Miss Sloane. Even just for Jessica Chastain, really, she is incredible in this film. Next is one that has been on my watch list for basically years. I can quote the film without even seeing it, and that is The Warriors. Slightly underwhelmed. I thought I was going to be like obsessed with it. I thought, oh my god, yeah, this is going to be 5 out of 5. This is right up my street. And because I'd watched John Wick 4, I rewatched it this month. A lot of people were saying it kind of took a lot of inspo from The Warriors, so I thought I'd check it out for that as well. And yeah, amazing. I love that it did that. I was just slightly underwhelmed with The Warriors in general. It was so cool, like so stylish. I loved all the settings, the costuming was incredible, all the different gangs and their outfits, and I loved that it was all set over one night as well. I just found it like, I think I overhyped it for myself really. I just found it kind of repetitive, a little bit boring at times, but I really enjoyed most of it. Like I said, I gave it 3.5 out of 5, so I mean, maybe it even deserves a 4, to be honest. I did really enjoy it. The cast is huge and the performances are all incredible, and yeah, it's got the coolest soundtrack, coolest costuming, just about like kind of a gang get accused of doing something that they didn't, so like everyone's going after them, kind of like in John Wick 4 where they're all like going after him in, I think it's in Paris that happens, I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I just was a little bit underwhelmed. I thought it was going to be a perfect score and it wasn't. The penultimate film I watched in August, I don't know why I watched this. Sometimes I just get like weird waves of like, oh, I really, really, really want to watch this. And this happened with Pacific Rim. What a fucking shout! How good is this film? I feel like nobody has ever told me how good Pacific Rim is. I was expecting it to just be like Transformers, but it was so good. It was like a good version of Transformers. I absolutely love Charlie Hunnam, so I'm glad I watched it for him. That's pretty much why I watched it. But I really enjoyed Idris Elba in this as well. It might be my favourite performance from him. And there were so many different kaijus in here. I just don't know what I thought Pacific Rim was, but what I was saying earlier about creature features, this is kind of that. Like, it's kind of a creature feature. It's heroes like Charlie Hunnam in big metal costumes called Jaegers, killing and defeating kaiju. It's really cool. I loved the thing that they did where they kind of like fight as a pair, and their like minds are linked and they have to like fight with someone that works the way they do. I thought that was a really, really interesting idea and it was explored really well. Also, this was directed by Guillermo del Toro, who is one of my favourite creators, so I don't know why I was so surprised that this was good. But I think he is the perfect director for it. It really has his influence. And I just, yeah, I really liked it. Performances, action. I kind of wish it developed its ideas a little bit more, maybe got a little bit deeper in places, but for what it was, I really, really liked it, and I can't wait to rewatch it. I've heard that the second one is shit, so do let me know if I need to watch that or not. I'm kind of going with no, but you know, if one of you really likes it and can convince me, I'll probably watch it. But oh my god, yeah, 4 stars out of 5, loved it. Thank you for sticking with me and my chaotic energy. I am on the last movie of the list. That is a new release. I watched it on Mubi and it is called MEDUSA Deluxe. This is a really fresh, unique, interesting mystery thriller set at a hairstyling competition. Basically one of the, I think it's one of the stylists or one of the models, I can't quite remember, my memory is shocking. They get murdered, so you're kind of like trying to figure out who murdered them. But the mystery element isn't as interesting as like the rest of what's going on. There's some really, really interesting like dialogue in here. There's a lot of like British insults and that being thrown around, which kind of has like a funny angle. There's a lot of, yeah, it's another one that it's like more dialogue than anything else. The mystery kind of takes a back burner, but it's still there, you know, your brain's still kind of like trying to figure out who did what. And they're all starting to like doubt each other as well, and you've got like a lot of catty females in there kind of arguing amongst each other and thinking it could be someone else. My favourite performance in this film was actually given by Luke Pasqualino, who I've been watching for years. He was in Skins when I was a kid, so I really liked him. He was quite funny. And the movie ends with, I'm not spoiling by the way, all the characters come together and there's a massive dance scene at the end. I think all movies should end like that. It was amazing. Like, it was like a panto. You just kind of forget the whole story and just have these characters dancing together, and it was brilliant. The movie wasn't perfect though, it was super fun. I liked a lot of the discourse, but some of the discourse was actually really annoying. Some of the dialogue kind of grated a little bit, and the mystery element is fairly weak. I feel like it should be the main focus and it just isn't. And I kind of wanted more hair, like I wanted it to be more about like the hairstyling and stuff like that, and it wasn't. So that was a little bit disappointing, but I'm still glad I checked it out. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. That is everything. Thank you for sticking with me through this video. I get through a lot of films, so that's why these videos tend to be on the longer side. I can't wait to talk about Saw with you guys. Despite not enjoying all of the movies in the franchise, I've really enjoyed watching the franchise again, so we will be ranking those soon. Again, all my links below, Letterboxd, Film Focus Online, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Come follow me, let's chat, let's hang. Also, drop a comment down below, let me know what your favourite movie that you watched in August was. I hope you're enjoying the sun if you're having it, and I hope, like me, you're all really, really excited for autumn and spooky season. I will hopefully see you in a few days for some more content. Bye!